Congratulations, SKG. Your petition smashed 1 million signatures and is well on its way to be safely padded just in case a bunch are invalidated. You wanted to know if this consumer rights angle could work in your mission to preserve games, and you're gonna find out. But even just getting this far, to the point where the European Commission will take a little peep at it, has drawn out some more significant adversaries. Video Games Europe, a trade association representing the video games industry, has spoken out against the initiative. And who are they? You know, I took a look and they're doing some really good stuff. Apparently they've got a big focus on getting more girls into STEM, which in turn is going to feed the games industry. And it is absolutely vital that they get a fresh supply of females with these skills, because historically, the women working at places like Video Games Europe member Activision Blizzard keep showing up dead under questionable circumstances or complaining about sexual harassment. But of course that was only the ones who survived their employment. And damn, wouldn't you know it, Video Games Europe also represents Riot. They had their own problems a little while ago, didn't they? The little girls of today definitely need to be better prepared, groomed, if you will, in the non-predatory way, to survive in such environments. But speaking of grooming, I couldn't help but notice that another of their members is Roblox. It's easy to say, well, Activision Blizzard didn't admit anything in their settlements, and that was years ago. Riot stuff, that was settled in 2021. But Roblox's issues are a bit more recent, aren't they? And actually directly relevant to your statement on SKG. See, they argue that requiring games to run on private servers would endanger players, away from the watchful eye of the devs and publishers, and their tools and moderation teams. People wouldn't be safe. And that, this could be a brand reputation risk if something bad happens on a private server. For Video Games Europe member Roblox, that last ship's kinda sailed, hasn't it? But what really irks me reading this article is Roblox's response. See, today, the association they're represented by is telling the world, if you can't keep people safe adequately, you can't be running a server. But when their member Roblox got called out just a little while ago, Roblox explained, "Nothing we can do, dude. Government needs to get involved. I mean, we'll do what we can, but it's impossible alone. We want to run private servers for a couple friends. Too dangerous." One of their members got kids getting diddled left and right. Hey man, if you really want it to stop, your taxes are going to have to go towards that. It would seem, to me at least, that Video Games Europe members' view on the acceptability of risking illegal conduct hinges entirely on whether they're making money from it or not. In fact, they have so little genuine care for humanity that the number one issue they could come up with occurring on private servers was cheating. Before you start throwing such stones, maybe you should have a little chat with a representative of your member Roblox about how bad things really are. To be fair, if you look into Video Games Europe, you'll see they have a bunch of stuff about protecting children, but that's just so they can protect loot boxes. You know how industry-run ratings boards exist to stop the government from stepping in and heavy-handedly censoring everything? They did literally the same thing with loot boxes. Peggy added a little label and everything. Look man, as long as parents know their 3-year-old's having its brain destroyed, it's fine. I do agree with Video Games Europe though that it should not be considered gambling. Gambling is far safer and more ethical, because at least with gambling, they're not allowed to come to you later at any point and delete your winnings for any reason. And looking at their board instead of just members, my impression that this is a group of soulless vampires who would suck your blood if they could, but will have to make do for now with just the contents of your wallet is only strengthened. One Kerry Hopkins of Electronic Arts is there. Is that ringing any bells for you? No?
Well, first, we don't call them loot boxes. I think that was
whatever term you wish to apply to them. Do you consider them ethical?
So what we look at as surprise mechanics.
How about now? I love the analogy Kerry used to the UK Parliament. She explained, these surprise mechanics are just like a kid buying a Kinder Egg, except for the part, where Kinder isn't allowed to remotely wipe the toy they've won from existence. For a group so deathly afraid of reputational harm, I think they've made some very interesting organizational decisions. Plus, this legislation, if it ever becomes legislation, you might say it's an overreach, it's dangerous, it's unnecessary, could be any number of things. I call that surprise mechanics, and gamers enjoy that quite a lot. So, I knew this was coming. I wanted it to come. I was excited for it. They're the guys who talk to EU commissioners about games. Yes, Cinnamon Rogers is the name of this person. For real. No, they are not a pirate, as far as I'm aware. Anyway, everyone knew this was coming, but I didn't expect to be so ticked off. And I'm not ticked off just because of what they're saying, but because of who's saying it. So, their dream is that this gets seen by the European Commission and they decide to throw it away, with no intervention, legislative or otherwise. To this end, part of their statement lays out the point that consumer protection laws are currently adequate, robust even, as they put it. Regarding Regarding fair terms, they let everyone know, like, look man, the Unfair Terms Directive prohibits games companies from imposing terms on consumers that significantly imbalance the parties' rights and obligations to the detriment of consumers. And they let us know that everything is fine, does not need to be looked at in any way, while representing Ubisoft, who apparently have been having us agree to immediately uninstall their products and destroy all copies of their product in our possession should they stop supporting it. I don't know, as a layman that seems pretty damn whack to me. Sounds like a pretty unfair obligation to me, and sounds like the remote killing of a game to me. You know, if you slowly heat up a frog, they tested this, it just jumps out once it's uncomfortable. But everyone knows that analogy. You bastards will erode and push and take anything you can get away with in ways that consumers can't in return, and then have the balls to imply, look, the law says we can't be unfair, so we weren't being unfair. Were we? I know what you are. You told us what you are last year, or rather Philippe Tremblay did, when he explained there's a fight to change consumer understanding. Gamers even feeling a sense of ownership is a roadblock to corporate ambition. Before we even think about legislation. I don't even care if I'm wrong about the law, or my judgment of what's considered fair. I ain't a lawyer. Regardless, fuck you. Video Games Europe, you gotta remember, Ubisoft, who let the world know they are trying to psyop consumers. Anything that comes out of your organization should be read as if it's written by a literal demon. You don't like people suggesting that? What are you gonna do? Brick my microphone for inappropriate conduct? You would if you could. Just like how Nintendo, another member of Video Games Europe, wants to be free to brick people's hardware. Dog shit is dog shit is dog shit. You can explain how we got here. You can explain why it might be hard to change. You can explain how current law supports it. You can't pretend it tastes good. And speaking of things that taste like shit, check out the end of their little message. Video game companies are committed to the preservation of games and their cultural value. You see, members regularly donate game copies and hardware to preservation organizations and support museum exhibitions featuring games. Their examples are temporary exhibitions of Battlefield 1 and SimCity 2000. Alright, here you go, here it is. Proof that EA cares deeply. They also point out in their statement that Embracer has a games archive, which is of course just for physical games. So let me translate this little bit at the end to what it actually means. Video game companies are committed to the total destruction of game preservation past the date at which everything is successfully transferred to service or subscription. See this bit? This is them pretending, for the eyes of politicians they hope will not understand, that they would let their games be preserved is just a matter of details. Has to be a serious professional effort and has to not be under circumstances that jeopardize game companies' rights. But of course that circumstance is that it is any game they make the way they want to make them now. They really want total control of modern games, right? The way they're behaving already gives me the impression that they have no intention of ever coming to some sort of self-regulatory compromise. But you get at this point, right, that it's not to control the games. It's not to control their IP. That's just the most effective counter to resistance in this instance. The loss the industry could suffer as a result of mandated end-of-life plans is nothing compared to the loss in progress towards you accepting that you will own nothing and be happy that would accompany that. Consider, because I think this is very important, they are not terrified of losing what they have now. They're terrified of not being able to get what they want next. Apologies if you were blissfully unaware that mainstream gaming is essentially an eternal war against the devil, but don't worry, every time I've dipped my toe into it, it's been really fun. Certainly more fun than your average live service game. And for the people who are interested in this for broader reasons than just game preservation, if you're not just an SKGer, then it is wrong to think for even a second that this is over if this gets totally shot down, or you get a token. Even if Pirate Software's paranoid delusion of Europe enslaving game devs came true, it wouldn't be over. This shit's forever. Get comfy, don't burn yourself out. Mostly, it's just gonna be something to watch.